Greetings, good evening, everybody. Another D Live, the Convo series here tonight. Got my friend Stephen Bell with us, and we'll get into introducing him and having a conversation with him this evening and find out what's going on. But first, I just want to give everybody kind of a second to get online here and remind you we've got a few people starting to pop on. If you have a comment, a question, please feel free to drop that in the comments. I will keep an eye on those and give Steven any feedback. We just lost your video, bro.
Oh, hold on. Sorry. 1 second. All right.
All right, he's back. You're too good looking to cut the video feed, man.
I got the notification about going live and accidentally clicked on it, and then I pop up on that one. I'm like, oh wait, wrong video.
Yeah, cool. So anyway, thanks for joining me this evening. We got some people joining us right now. Hopefully, we'll have some more. And like I said, everybody drop a comment, a question in the comments. We'll get to those. But so a lot of people know you as a man about town, and not only just being out and just having a good time and so forth, but actually running a business out of that, and a very successful business coming up until this time of Corona and COVID-19. And so we want to touch on that a little bit, and what does that look like? I had Lauren Altman on a few days ago, and she's manages over the Eagle and Bakersfield, kind of touching base with kind of that restaurant side of the hospitality industry. But there's a whole other market out there for people that, may not know or aren't necessarily out in terms of like just throwing parties and events and DJs and different stuff like that, kind of more of a club feel. And we'll talk about all what you do. But first of all, thank you for joining me. And how are you, man? How are you holding up to COVID-19 quarantine?
I'm good. Yeah, I mean, I'm just enjoying the time to relax and chill. It can be a stressful time, obviously. I think everyone is dealing with that. But other than that, I'm healthy, family's healthy, so I'm happy for that standpoint.
Oh, that's good. That's good to hear. We're all doing the best we can. I think for us, if you don't have the family and the kids home all day and stuff like that, trying to homeschool the kids and different things, it's maybe a little bit easier. And back with us?
Sorry.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So before we get into that, and we'll come up to the present day. Tell me, you're a Cincinnati native. Tell us a little bit about your background. That's one of the things I find very interesting in talking to folks on this show. Is just getting more info on the background and tell us a little bit about where you come from, those types of things.
Yeah, I am. So I am from Cincinnati. I always just liked kind of entrepreneurial life. So I actually, when I was like 12 years old, I started doing lawn care and landscaping. My parents wouldn't give me allowance, so I used to like pushing. Yeah, they were like, oh, so they would give me gifts, but like if I wanted special stuff, I had to do it. So I started, I would push the lawnmower around the neighborhood, and I always liked doing that. So I never had like a teenager job. So I did that until we had a really bad drought, like in 2010 or so, right after I graduated high school. So that's when I started working corporate life. And so, I mean, I've always liked being an entrepreneur, but, it's the consistency from working a corporate job or, any type of 9-to-5 job is nice too. So I did that for a while and then left corporate world. And then I started doing events just as a way it was something I wanted us to have it as a city. And I also just liked the idea of being able to work for myself. And I didn't know what it would kind of turn into, but it took off. I started to learn a lot more. I started to make a lot more connections. I started to identify more areas of opportunity in the city that we needed and trying to attack those specifically, building that base. And then that's kind of, now we're here
right
from that standpoint. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, so, in really a short amount of time, I mean, you just kind of blew up over, it's about, 3 years or so, maybe a little more. You've actually had the company, SB Events Cincy, and just started, and I've kind of watched your growth. I've had well, first of all, an interest in the nightlife scene
Yeah.
because I like to go out,
All right.
and been doing that for a while now. And I actually used to do a little promotion and
Yeah.
manage some DJs back in the day and traveled around a little bit. So I've always kind of had an interest in that angle. And I actually wrote it down here. You made a great point, already talking about how uh, it's not just for a business, but in a city, especially a city like Cincinnati, which clearly we're not New York or LA or Miami.
Hmm.
That it actually this does add, a vibrancy, a culture, and nightlife is a big part of a city. And I think you really identified kind of a missing piece to that. And so, can you tell us a little bit about your niche, or did you kind of see what
Hmm.
the market was from a business perspective, and then it just kind of made sense, and really it got to the point where if you're not coming to an SB, if you're not coming to one of your events and getting there by 10:15,
Hmm.
you're not getting in because
Hmm.
there's a line down the block. I've seen it. It's like
Yeah.
I'm trying to pull strings that ain't happening. They're like, dude, you got to get here sooner, man.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
So
I
how
mean,
did that pan out? How did you see that play out?
hmm So to piggyback off what you were saying, so when I started it, it was really because of inspiration from other cities. So I love to travel, and in every other city, I'm doing going to all these fun parties, brunches, day parties. I'm experiencing all these types of music I like, these cool environments, and I come back home and I'm like, oh, this sucks. So it was partly into that area of, okay, can we bring some of these concepts? Who says we can't have this in Cincinnati? And so from there, the kind of second part of that with identifying my own niche is, we have all this talent that's being brought here by all these major companies, especially now. And you're taking this talent from bigger cities and as companies, when you're, competing for young professionals to come work for your company, for young professionals, the biggest thing for us partly now is work-life balance. Back in the day, if you got hired by a big company, a Fortune 500 company, whoever, that was all you wanted. All right, work here for 30 years and then I'm good. But now, between LinkedIn and recruiters and all this, the way that things have developed, it's a very competitive market. So for companies, that's another thing is how do we get talent to smaller cities, smaller markets? How do we keep them here? How do we keep them happy? And part of that is establishing good work-life balance. So when you bring all these young professionals, especially those who are from different cultures and races, and you're bringing them here, and it's like, all right, well, you can go to these bars that you don't really like and listen to music you don't really like. It makes them be like, is this really worth it when this other company in Chicago's offering me same pay or whatever?
Right.
So for me, I built that in just trying to cater to those young professionals who could feel like, on Tuesday, for example, I want to go get some tacos and tequila, or Saturday, Friday night, or I want to go to a brunch, or I want to go to a day party, or I want to just whatever it is. Like you want to be around other attractive people. You want to be able to feel like you can dress up. You want to be in dope environments. So that was kind of for me what once I realized how big of a niche was being missed in the city, that's just kind of what I honed into. And I think, people have appreciated that. It kind of surprised me because I didn't really know what would come from it. And then it's like every single weekend, it's like somebody's birthday or somebody's, promotion or graduation or something. Like people look forward to the events as their outlets to be able to celebrate whatever they have going on in their life. So that, it's a certain level of trust that they have in what I produce from that standpoint. So, that adds to it too.
No, and I think that's huge, and it's something that's really overlooked. I think in the value. I'm a big civic guy. Obviously, I'm passionate about Cincinnati. Have traveled myself, and been involved in in the scene a little bit, going way back. I mean, I've been out for a while now
Yeah.
since like parachute pants were in and stuff like that back in the day.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's about a vibe, and it's about
Hmm.
having something for everybody. Safe environments as well.
Yeah.
And so I think that was definitely a missing kind of a niche. And
Hmm.
so going back to like 2009, 2010, 2012 in Cincinnati, when the city itself really started. It used to be just like Mount Adams was about it, and
Hmm.
one or two other spots. And when things really started picking up, it was still this kind of we had it like in Over the Rhine, we would have our, kind of bars that have happy hour and food. And then you would have a few places that were more club-like, and kind of few like hole-in-the-wall type of joints. One of the things we were trying to do back then was tell some of these, some of the operators was that, it would really add like a cool vibe, to have a day party or a DJ during the day. And it just, as usual, sometimes things take a while to filter down here, but I think you really led on that. And where, walk into one of your parties, like a Sunday fun day party at 3 or 4 o'clock, that place is just slamming, it's packed and the DJ's up there and people are dancing and having a good time. You would think it was 2 in the morning or something, 2 in the afternoon. There's the after party, but it starts at 8 p.m. And so, I think you identified a real kind of missing link. And I think it's pointed out. And one of the things I noticed was that, a lot of your clientele are people, and it's, people of all kind of backgrounds. You would get a mix of folks, but, kind of a young professional, African-American crowd, but people from all over. And, they're from Fairfield, they're from Westchester, they're from Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky, and you're having events in different places as well. But yeah, we have these, businesses, we're trying to attract talent, and that's a part that young people want to go out. That's what they want to do. And I appreciate you, recognizing that and adding this flavor to the city, because it's something that just a lot of people, if you're not into the scene or whatever, you're going to overlook. But you're right. I mean, that helps us attract and retain talent here because people want to be entertained, right?
Yeah, and I completely agree, and I appreciate that a lot. I mean, it hasn't been easy. I've had some very long, rough periods. I've had some where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. But I just stay with it. It's part of being able to understand what people want. And I've had to make it where it's not about the money. The money will come. And so like for me, I really try to focus a lot on having free events instead of charging cover charges for everything, because that opens up the door for more people to just, come in. They have lower expectations, so they're coming with a more open mind. They didn't pay anything up front, they just were coming to see what it's about. And then it's just like, okay, now they're able to experience things. Certain demographics are not as inclined to pay cover as others, so this opens it up that way too. And so, I mean, from that standpoint, I agree with you. And it's just, just sticking with things. When you have something that you enjoy doing and, you get a little success with it, you just, you stick with it and you hope more comes from it. And, at this point where we're at, I've got so many stories from people who I didn't even know, who I would just introduce, and they would say, oh, I love your event so much. And, I just really need to come, like just little random stories. But,
right.
They're good reminders that, okay, people really appreciate this. And, some of these people never know where to go. Right. And they only go off of whatever marketing I put out for the thing to go to for that week,
Well,
so that
clearly you're the go-to guy. I mean, if you say, hey, we're showing up in a garage, and we're going to rage at whenever time of day or what people know, like it's going to be a cool party. People are going to show up, but it takes a while. Like people are like usually skeptical at first, right?
Yes, for sure.
And then the proof is in the pudding of show up is a good time. It's good people there, friends. And one of the things I appreciate about your events is that, well, one thing, let me back up. You mentioned one thing that I noted, and you were talking about introductions. And so that gets into, as human beings, we are social animals and we want to connect with people. Now we're kind of forced to do it this way electronically, at least for the time. But, networking is very powerful and a very powerful tool. And so for myself, it's like, I feel like I know a lot of people in Cincinnati, most places that I go, and I walk into one of your parties and I look around and it's like, where do all these people come from? Like, I know 3 people in the room, at first, and then you get to meet new people. And so you're attracting folks that, especially perhaps if they live in the suburbs, where are they going? They're going out to, I don't know where they go for a happy hour at Applebee's or, I don't know, because there's nothing going on maybe. And so it's attracting new people into the city.
Yeah.
connecting new people. And then, I appreciate about you as well. You're like, Derek, come here. There's somebody I want you to, you need to meet this individual.
Mm-hmm.
There's somebody I want you to introduce you to. And so
Mm-hmm.
that kind of those social connections and being a connector
Mm-hmm.
is very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
So first of all, thank you for doing
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
And it's like
no
one of those
problem.
things
Yeah.
kind of under the radar if you don't really notice
Mm-hmm.
what's happening.
Yeah.
But it's a great way to just to meet cool
Mm-hmm.
people, see what they're doing, make new friends, and all of that. I mean, do you
Mm-hmm.
agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, completely. So honestly, if it weren't for like networking and with me doing that, there would be no SB events. I mean, part of the reason where I was even able to make this a thing was I just love people,
Right.
and I'm cool with so many different types and demographics and people in general. So because of that, it's not just all one type or whatever. And there's just a lot of people in the city. And it's such a, I don't know, like the city is just so pocketed, and this group doesn't hang with this group doesn't hang with this group. And so when you have a city like that, there's so many people that don't even know each other. And for me, I know someone who does this particular thing, this other person's working on the same thing. I'm like, you guys are perfect to know each other, and I just, when I make those connections, I like doing it. I think when I look at past ones who I've made and I look at connections I've been made with from other people, and how much they benefited me and how much I remember, the setting I was at where that connection was made, the person who helped me make that connection. So for me, if I'm looking at a person, I see, okay, this person, for example, like with you, you're very clear about things that you are working on, things you want to do. You're intentional about all that. So that makes it easy where if I see someone else who, whatever way, can connect in that same way, there
Right.
you guys go.
Yep.
I don't have to talk to both of you at that point. I don't have to
Right.
entertain anybody at that point. I can go on, and now I've just set it up for you all. And then, that's ultimately what everything should be about. Whatever we're doing is how are we able to do whatever we can to help other people out. And if making connections is a way to do that, there's so many people out there, and it's sad that they need certain things and they're either afraid to ask for it or they don't know who to ask. And it's that person is sitting right next to them, but they don't know because they don't talk about it. And
Right.
if people don't post about it, people don't know what people are doing. So it's like, you can make, I like organic ones, so we can make in-person ones. Hey,
Yep.
here's a drink, here's a shot for the three of us. You guys chop it up. You both are into this. I'll walk away, take it from there. So I just, I think that part of it, and it's helped me make some wonderful relationships that I have now from those type of connections.
Dude, I don't think honestly, if people fully appreciate that. I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
if we just went back and replayed what you just said. I mean, those are very powerful words. The power of networking and having those personal relationships, and it might not even be today.
Mm-hmm.
It might be next month or next year or 5 years from now. But you have that relationship, and if you're in a certain situation, oh yeah, I can call so and so. They're
Mm-hmm.
into this, whatever it may be, whether it's work, whether it's personal, so on and so forth. So there's great value in that. That doesn't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily like flash dollar signs at the moment.
Yeah.
But there is, and that's huge. And as somebody that
Mm-hmm.
can do that, that it's just very powerful and very helpful to people,
Mm-hmm.
especially. I think in Cincinnati, our culture is just kind of a little bit
It's
closed.
conservative. Yeah.
Yeah,
And close.
it's
Yeah.
conservative in a
Mm-hmm.
way in terms of, do I know you? I'm not
Yeah.
super open to like just doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So when you can kind of break down that wall and say, hey, meet so and so, and you can
Mm-hmm.
in that way, and you feel like, I mean, we've been in a scenario where you're just like, bro, what's up? I'm gonna be down in OTR, going to lunch with some people. Just swing by if you don't have anything,
Mm-hmm.
and you stop,
Mm-hmm.
and you get 10 new friends. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
huge. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's awesome. Just if nothing else, you have 10 new friends. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's great. You see that person again. It's like, oh, hey, what's up?
Yeah. We hung out.
So that's just an amazing. Like, so obviously, you go to a party, you have a couple cocktails and whatever. You have a good time, but underneath that, like,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
that's pretty cool. So we need to all,
Mm-hmm.
I think, value networking. So
Mm-hmm.
just kind of moving on from that, what's your vibe now? What's your feedback? We've had a couple comments of people stopping by, and I'll mention those. But what are people saying right now in terms of, everybody's at home. You see some DJs and stuff doing virtual parties.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah, I mean,
that
yeah.
what's everybody's mood right now in terms of nightlife?
It's an unknowingness right now. So I think from me on the outside looking in, so I've pretty much been quiet and distant through all this period, because I'm still, as far as with the how I do my business right now, I'm not looking for an innovative way to do it for this very second.
Right.
So I'm more so just kind of sitting back, observing, seeing the climate of the country, the city, everything else. However, from the outside looking in, it seems as though it's just everyone's looking for what is the right thing to do, and we're at a time when there really isn't one. So I think it's just important for everybody, just do what you want to do right now. you know,
Yeah.
there's no rules. It's you if you want to DJ all day for free and do battles, do it. And don't let people tell you, oh, you shouldn't do this. Or if you don't want to do anything, don't. It's just I think people are so used to being having patterns, having societal norms and do's and don't do's, and now all of a sudden we don't have any.
Right.
And so I think that kind of climate is social media just kind of determines what people should be doing. So it's like, all right, I need to work out every day at home, eat healthy, make smoothies, drink wine. Like it's like, it just changes every day. Like, but that's what social media does when we're not getting anything else really from anywhere else. We're not having in-person interactions. We're not doing anything else. And so for me, I think it's just important for everyone to, take some time to just relax if you have it, to just thoroughly relax your mind, your body, feel rested. So whenever we come out of this, you are ready to go whatever you want to do.
Right.
And if and everyone's situation is different. So, if you're good to go, just sit back. If you're a creative and, your business is going to take right off when this is over, you have money set aside or whatever your financial situation is, you're good. There's nothing wrong with taking this time to just relax. You don't have to come up with a new bright idea or figure out about stocks and invest. Like those things are great to do. And if you have the time, energy, and if you want to, I think those things are great. And so like for me, I took my period where I didn't worry about a damn thing. I just slept as late as I wanted every day. I exercised when I wanted. I learned some new recipes to cook, chill, family, had, just got to do things that I wanted to always do without any other stress and worries.
Right.
And then I gave myself a certain time period. So I was like, all right, after a certain amount of weeks, then it's time to get in my creative bag and figure out, okay, what are some possible scenarios and what are my plans if these scenarios happen? And that's kind of the stage I'm at now. And it's just, the biggest thing is I don't stress about stuff I can't control. So, with the way things are, we have no control over what's about to happen.
Yep.
So it's like you can't stress about it. So I know a lot of people are talking about the May 1st date. There's a lot of controversial viewpoints. Some are like, clearly that's too soon. Some are like, we're happy to get back out, need to make money. It's different. I'm pretty sure regardless of whenever the governor or the national scene starts to open back up things, bars, venues, large gatherings are going to be the last wave of that anyway.
Right.
So I'm not, those dates and stuff I'm not really worried about because I know it's going to be a ways off. So right now, it's just the things that I'm working on myself. I'm just putting my energy into those and then just making sure I'm prepared. So when stuff gets back up and going, I'm ready.
Ready to roll. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, that's a great point. I think, one of the things is all of us are so busy, right? We're all the time busy, 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 busy. And, you're running, or if you do volunteer events, you're working, you're out. It's always this, maybe you got the kids over here. It's just a hustle and bustle. It's like our American way. We get 2 weeks of vacation a year if you're 9 to 5 job, and they make you feel bad even if you take it.
Right.
And so now, people are working from home, people watching or whatever it may be. And I think you made a great point. It's okay. I think to a certain point, our hustle and bustle, kind of rat race mindset against us a little bit. At the end of the day, I mean, there's never, there's never been a guy laying on his deathbed that says, I wish I would have worked more over.
Yeah.
That's not how it is. And so
Yeah.
I think that is a good point. And I see people, doing myself. I'm posting like cooking photos on Instagram and Facebook and such, and it's like this kind of reconnection to the home, which I don't think that's all bad to have this happen.
Yeah.
It's okay to kind of just decompress for a hot minute, even when we go on vacation, it's like, what are we going to Miami and you're doing this and you're doing that? I need to come back for a vacation for my vacation. So I think those are some great points.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I think it's hard because, if you've always worked, for example, a 9 to 5, for 20 years now, it's hard all of a sudden to be able to wake up, not have to go to work, and you're not retired or anything. It's out of your control, and to be able to just be okay, you feel like you should be doing something. You feel like, so it takes a lot of just being able to be self-aware and being in peace with yourself. I think a lot of people are finding out how hard it is to be alone.
Yeah.
And how hard it is to be okay with that too. And so that's the part of it, but you learn the most about yourself in those times. And like, for me, I mean, it's like weird. People think I'm like this super, super people person. And I love people. Like, I get along great with people. I like in that aspect, but I'm really more of like, I like being alone a lot, and I'm more of an introvert, but I have extroverted ways, I guess you could say. But so like for me, I'm enjoying this completely just at home. I started playing video games, never really played video games, so that's cool. Like, just whatever it is I'm doing, or with family. But like, regardless, it's just, like you said, being okay with it, and then just seeing like, is there something about myself that I maybe didn't know before, or that I can explore when I don't have to spend 8 hours of my day at a place, 10 hours of my total day. Because like working jobs, whatever we do, it drains your energy in some capacity.
Right.
And so now we all have this energy. So it's like that energy has to go somewhere. So we kind of have to figure out what do we do with it. It's like, do we just chill and rest, which is fine, or do we put it into learning ourselves, learning a hobby we might have, learning some, just whatever, playing some games. Like, I mean, just whatever you want to do. But I think it's just, people just being able to explore that, and then just being able to communicate that stuff more without feeling like they're under pressure, going to get scrutinized or judged because they're not out here living their best quarantine life. You know what I mean? Like, like,
God, I'm doing it for the gram, man. I gotta hit my angle just right.
All right.
It's a lot of pressure doing it for the gram.
All right, exactly.
And it's like, it's okay. And so, and these are great points you're making. And I even see people, it's like, well, I need to get out. So now they're going out in the wilderness somewhere at some park that we don't even know, and they're on the gram, but it's like a stream flowing.
Yeah.
And so they're trying to get out of their house, but that's where they want it. Tranquility. And so you just see more of that. So that's some great points. Let me just touch on a couple people drop comments on here. So thank you all for doing that. Andre Lamar says, I remember meeting Steven right before he started doing promotions and marketing. Super humble dude, very smart. That's true. And I think, and this is part of the reason.
Oh, appreciate it, man.
Yeah, that's very, very kind word.
It's a homie.
One of the reasons why I wanted to do this series, and please everybody tune back in. We're doing this Monday through Thursday, usually at 7 p.m. We're not locked in stone on that. But I want to hear, get to know people a little bit more besides just the persona that you see of people, whether it be political figures, civic, business leaders, whatever. And so, like, I think one of the things that I know, but it's evident in this conversation is like, dude, you're like, you see this, Stephen Bell throwing these huge parties, and it's that whole persona. But there's a lot of depth to you that people may not see if they don't get the opportunity to sit down and just have this conversation. So
I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's very apparent. One of your cohorts, who I know you've thrown some parties with, Mike Martin, stops by to say,
what up? Yeah.
He's loving on your beard, because I don't think he done shave but about twice times a week. I don't know if he's still filling in yet.
Yeah.
But what's up, Mike? And
What's up?
oh, Keebler Holly, make sure you connect with my dude Keebler. He's a realtor. He says he wants to advertise at your events when you come back online.
Nice.
So
Okay.
make sure you jump in the comments and connect with him. Vita Coppage stopping by saying what's up. She's loving. Talk
Okay.
about doing it for the gram. That's Vita. She's always. You can't tell whether she's in or out, but always on point.
Mm-hmm.
Allison Raider stopping by saying what's up. Great interview. Thank you. And yeah, so
Nice.
yeah, man, just in closing, like we had, people don't know this because it's been under tight wraps, top secret information. I'm not giving away too many details. We actually had a party planned for later
yeah.
summer. Hopefully that can still, we're going to have to figure out what we could do on that. I'm not saying anything more. I'm just dropping a secret out there. But certainly the point of that is to bring all communities, all people together to just have a, hopefully we could still make that happen in a responsible.
Oh, yeah.
And I prefer Sue stop by, dropping a comment saying, do you think bars and venues will open by summer? And I think, you know, what both of us are saying is we just don't know. I mean, we're in this critical time and we're at a moment when you just don't know what's that going to look like. I mean, I'm throwing an event, but everybody got to stand 6 feet apart.
Yeah.
Don't know how that's going to work yet. So I don't know if you have any extra insight on that, but I think we're still in this moment where we're not sure how it's going to shake out.
Yeah.
The timeline is.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're 100% right. And I mean, honestly, the best thing, you know, we can do is just stay optimistic with still being realistic. And I mean, looking.
I'm right. Wait, everybody, make note of that. Optimistic but realistic. I'm writing this down.
I just made it up too. The first time I said it too. So it's, I was like, oh, I like that. But yeah, like it's like crazy because we, you know, when you look at the world landscape, because this obviously is not just a thing in our country.
Good point.
You know, we can kind of look at other models in other countries and see how it's played out. And I mean, from my standpoint, the reality is until we have some kind of vaccine, there's no point or there's no way to really feasible do big events or bars. I mean, bars might open up, but it's just tough because you're back in the same boat.
Right.
If you don't, you know what I mean?
Right.
So from my standpoint, that's kind of what I'm telling myself. So my hopes don't get up too much and just kind of going that. If it comes before, you know, that's wonderful. And I just take it a day at a time. Like because you know, if I start thinking too much and start looking at dates I had out throughout the year and, you know, it starts to give you anxiety, you start getting depressed, you know, and it's like, we have no idea of knowing. So from that standpoint, I'm optimistic and I worry about tomorrow, today, and just go with that.
No, and I think that's a great way to live life in general, but especially during these uncertain times. People are stressed. Maybe I got furloughed or laid off from the job. Maybe I've got kids at home. I've got to somehow try to homeschool and everything going on with that. And so in the daily life pressures that were anyway, just kind of compressing that. And now I can't get out. I can't go to an SB event right now, which was kind of my getaway and my release. Having said that, we do have the NFL draft coming up tonight. So that's kind of a big deal. We'll mix it up a little bit. And yeah, I think that's great words of wisdom.
Yeah.
The bottom line is we can't control this. We're in uncharted waters that really nobody knows. So I think that approach, you know, you drive yourself crazy at this point trying to figure everything. We don't have the answers, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, tune in, everybody. Follow make sure I got this right, at SB Events Cincy with a Y, primarily on Twitter and primarily Instagram. And you will see what's going on. You will get the latest. And when the time is right, and we have a big coming out party. It's
gonna be crazy.
Oh my god, so much
crazy. Yeah,
it's gonna be.
Can't wait, man.
Oh my god, I can't even wait for that. But anyway, with that, is there anything else? Did we get? Let's make sure we got all your social media. Is there any final closing points that you want to get out there?
I mean, no, I think this was a really great conversation. I like what you're doing a lot. I think you should keep it up for sure. And I think it's something that, you know, a lot of people are going live now on different platforms, doing different types of, you know, social media engagement with people. But I think this is a nice, more, you know, intimate way for people to know people in their own city that they always see but don't really know in a small dosage. So I think it's great for that. And I mean, for everybody, just, I know so many people in the industry who I've become friends with, and I know it's super hard for bartenders, servers, owners, and it's just all you can do is I just hope for the best for everybody right now, and the families, because I know people are really struggling.
Yep.
And especially because of how the pay works in those industries, it's set up even worse for failure if something like this happens, and then having to rely on unemployment. And it's just a mess right now. And it's unfortunate, but for everybody, don't be afraid to ask for help from people. And and then this is a chance for people to prove what friendship means, and what saying, we say, this is my friend, or I love this person's cool, but it's like these are chances to prove that, to help out those who may work in those industries, or you just may be going through it, or whatever. Show what your friendship is worth. And I think from everyone's standpoint, this is our chance to kind of come together in whatever ways we can, and from a distance, not be afraid to ask for help. Don't be too prideful to take it, and then just help each other out. And when the government or whoever else isn't doing it for us.
Dude, that's deep, man. It's words of wisdom. I love it. It is good stuff. Thank you for being here tonight, and everybody, thank you for stopping by. Absolutely. Please follow me. We're doing this Monday through Thursday at 7 p.m. Next week, I've got a public health expert on Monday. We're going to be talking about some of the impacts of COVID-19, and how that impacts our communities. Tuesday night, I've got PG Sittenfeld, Cincinnati City Council member. Rumor has it he'll be running for mayor in 21. Some great guests that we can really get to know on more of a personal level like this. So please stop by at Derek Bauman, Twitter, Facebook, at SB Events Cincy. Stephen Bell. Stephen, thank you for joining.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
All right, love it. Great conversation. Right. Cincinnati, as always, love you guys, and keep in touch. Peace and love as always. Have a great night.
Talk to you later. Bye.